at you in big bold letters. Quarterback, number one. Obviously, that's what they need because they have to find someone that can help carry this team moving forward. But also, they need a running back. Now, they may bring back Nick Chubb or whatnot, but they still need a guy that's younger, more explosive, more dynamic. And also, they need a wide receiver. I love what they've done with Jerry Jeudy, but they need someone outside of that strikes fear in the hearts of defenders. And so all of their needs, in my opinion, all their immediate needs on offense, quarterback, running back, and wide receiver.
You know, it's interesting here because I got the lucky end of the straw getting the top 10 teams, Jacqueline, so all their draft needs, like these are talent void teams here. Mike, the Giants, where do we go from here with New York?
I'm looking along the line of scrimmage. They did a lot in free agency. Honestly, I thought they did a great job of plugging holes, and so there really aren't that many. Now, the guy playing next to Dexter Lawrence is a big hole, though. They don't have a second DT option, and when you have a Dexter Lawrence who's so impactful, gosh, it doesn't take much. You can be an average defensive tackle, and you can rack up stats in that defense because of how much attention gets paid there. So I'm looking DT, then offensive line. Obviously, the New York Giants offensive line has been a point of contention for years. You know, and if you're in that division right now, looking up at the Philadelphia Eagles, you're like, please, Lord, I'll take whatever I can get along the offensive line. I want what they have. So O-line, and then I think the linebacker position. But like I said, they've done a fantastic job of filling out these holes. So really, there aren't that many. They just need guys to play better at the positions they've drafted highly in recent years.
Renner, I'll come right back to you. Top of the draft with the Titans here. Obviously, the focus is on quarterback. A lot of people think Cam Ward will go there. But outside of that, what continues to still be a need there for Tennessee?
Yeah, it's people for Cam Ward to throw the ball to. It is wide receivers. They have Calvin Ridley and then nada. It is a tough room. It was a tough room last year, and that's why the offense was as anemic as it was. So they need pass catchers, and they need more than one, in my opinion. They need as much help as they can get. And after that, they need pass rushers. Lost Harold Landry this offseason. They really don't have an edge guy to complement those behemoths they have on the interior. One of the better interiors along the defensive line in football, but one of the weaker edge groups as well.
Emery, let me get to you with New England. They had a lot of cap space this offseason. Last time I checked, they spent a lot of it on defense. Do I assume they try to go offense here, or what else are you looking at with the Patriots?
Yeah, they have to continue to build that offense, Tommy. And I think, one, you look at left tackle. They got to find a way to get Will Campbell or anyone that can play that left tackle spot because I think that's the glaring need right now offensively. But I would also throw out running back. Ramondre Stevenson falls out of favor every other week, right? So you got to get somebody that you can depend on and count on. And that wide receiver room probably could use another guy. I know they've added a lot of young talent last year in the draft. Kayshon Boutte, Javon Baker, who I'm a big fan of, out of UCF, who was fantastic. But also you bring in Stephon Diggs, who's coming off of an injury. But if Luther Burton is there still early in the second round, you got to go and grab that. So I would say left tackle, running back, surprisingly, and also wide receiver.
Quick follow-up, Emery. Are you a Will Campbell guy or Kelvin Banks guy or someone else?
Yes, and here's my thing about Will Campbell. If you've done it against guys that are going to be in the NFL, I don't have any issues with you doing it at the NFL level.
Okay, let's get to Jacqueline's Jags. Mike, what do you have for Jacksonville?
I'm starting with the interior of the offensive line. It's just Trevor Lawrence is your franchise at this point. You got to protect him better. They signed a couple free agents, Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry. That's not enough, in my opinion. You need to go and get somewhere, probably on day two, though. DT is the one where I'm looking day one. I think Mason Graham, the Michigan DT, to the Jacksonville Jags has been like everyone's mock favorite, and it just makes too much sense. It's a position of need. They have those edge guys in Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen. They don't really have the interior. And then last, I'm looking at safety. They're playing like cast-offs from other teams at safety right now. Darnell Savage, Packers didn't want him. Eric Murray, Texans didn't want him. They got to get a lot better at the safety position there in Jacksonville.
Emery, I'm turning to you. Vegas Raiders, what do we got?
Well, they have a couple, and they kind of depends on who's there at 6, right? You got receiver they need. If you look at that receiver room, everyone is talking about running back, justifiably so, because that's the second major need. They could be 1A, 1B. So wide receiver, running back, and I also think they need a ball hawk and free safety on the back end, someone that can really erase mistakes in that regard. But wide receiver for Geno Smith, backfield help, they need a game breaker at either one of those two spots, and they could preferably get that early in this year's draft.
Mike, follow up on the Raiders here because they're talking about Ashton Genty. There's that kid Hampton out as well. Is there a steep drop-off in your opinion between the two?
I don't think it's steep, but I do think Ashton Genty is like top 10 pick worthy. He is that talented. But Omarion Hampton's also like first-round pick worthy. So, I don't think it's a massive, massive drop-off. Those guys are just darn good running back prospects.
Back to you, Mike. The Jets draft needs.
The Jets, it's all on the offense, right? With how much they lost between Aaron Rodgers, between Devontae Adams, you need pass catchers. You got Garrett Wilson and then Alan Lazard. You don't want him as your number two. They didn't want him as a number two a few years ago, right? So they need another pass catcher. They need a tight end. Lost Tyler Conklin in free agency. Jeremy Ruckert is more of a blocker than a true pass catcher at the tight end position. And they need a right tackle. That's maybe where my eyes are looking first. Armand Membu, if he's on the board there at 7, I'm running in that card for him because the other 4 positions along that O-line, they're young and they're pretty darn good. If you just get one more guy in there at the right tackle position, you could have one of the makings of a special offensive line in New York.
So you're bullish on that O-line because we're talking about Justin Fields, who has the ability to dance around in that pocket a little bit, want to use his legs?
100%. And I think it's a good run blocking offensive line, too. I fully expect him and Breece Hall to put up some numbers on the ground this next season.
Okay, let's get to the Panthers, Emery. I mean, they do love their running backs. They like to sign them to long-term deals. What are some of the draft needs for Carolina?
Listen, I almost put running back on that because if Chuba Hubbard fumbles that football one more doggone time, right? And so between him, Jonathan Brooks, that is not able to stay healthy, unfortunately, running back almost made this list, but they need someone to close out the game defensively. They have no pass rush. They got to find someone that can bring it off the edge, in my opinion. Pass rush would be number one. I can even see cornerback being another opportunity to really build depth in that secondary, guys that can take the ball away. And how about wide receiver? Continue to stockpile weapons around your franchise quarterback, Bryce Young, who turned it on by the midway point of the season after he came back from being benched and really looked lights out, had the Panthers in playoff contention by winning that NFC South division toward the back end of the season. So he's trending in the right direction. Those are the needs, in my opinion, coming into this draft.
So it sounds like, Mike, that Emery's kind of buying what Carolina was able to do at the end of the year. There's always going to be a handful of teams that have a nice end to the season, but you don't know if you can buy it and have it carry over to next season. Where are you at when it comes to Carolina here in 25?
I'm buying. Bryce Young, he just looked different. Now, I think Emery hit the nail on the head there. He needs guys to finish these plays and to make some more plays for him. But he was leading them down for a game-winning drive against the world champ Philadelphia Eagles, right? He was in crunch time, looked like the Bryce Young in Alabama. So encouraging signs, but you need to put the talent around him for those encouraging signs to turn into encouraging wins.
Yeah, and it shows you that we just got to give a lot of these guys patience, and give them grace to grow into that role, like quarterback. And someone like Bryce Young, everyone was writing him off earlier in the season. He struggled, but let him work through those struggles like they did. He got back out there and made everybody look like geniuses on that coaching staff because maybe he just needed to sit down, catch his breath, get back out there and go ball like he did.
We're talking to you, Pete Prisco. We're talking to you when it comes to Bryce Young. All right, let's get back on track. Mike, the New Orleans Saints in draft needs.
They have a bunch, right? You're not in this position as top 10 pick with this aging roster without them. But I think left guard is the one position where I'm like, if they filled that, the rest of the offensive line, a lot of highly drafted guys on it, a lot of talented guys on it. I think left guard's the one position I'm looking to fill. And then defensively, you can really address anywhere on this roster defensively except for probably safety, just because you got aging players at edge and Cam Jordan, linebacker Demario Davis. But DT is probably your weakest link alongside cornerback. So the New Orleans Saints, you have to be a little forward thinking with this draft. You got to be addressing valuable positions that can make an impact. I'd also throw in a possession wide receiver too, because you got a bunch of skinny, fast guys. You got no one that can really run a slant over the middle of the football field. So a lot of positions that need to be addressed in New Orleans.
A lot of positions, but one of them not quarterback. Our producer, Emery, wants to ask you why quarterback is not on Mike's list. Is it because you have faith in Derek Carr? What do we think about Spencer Rattler and company? I mean, what do you make of the quarterback situation in NOLA?
Yeah, there's no faith in Derek Carr. It's all faith in Spencer Rattler. And NFL coaches around the league have spoken highly about Spencer Rattler. I'm surprised to see potholes not on that list too. Man, there's a big pothole by my mom's house on the corner that's been there for 5 years. They have to start getting these streets ready to get fixed in New Orleans. That should be need number one down in the Big Easy.
Let's get to the Bears, who had that offseason trying to fortify that offensive line here. And Emery, what do you make of Chicago, Caleb Williams, and what they're doing out there in the Windy City?
Yeah, they've given themselves a lot of wiggle room here with this pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see this pick moved in the draft to go and get a specific player or trade back to get more assets, because free safety is someone that I can think they need to get younger behind Kevin Byard, who's a really good player, fantastic pro, but he's up there in age. You also look at guard, because he did so great on the interior in free agency. Get some young depth behind those guys. And defensive tackle, to me, is another area where they can continue to build depth, because they did so well in free agency on both sides of the ball. There's no immediate needs right now for Chicago, so they can really go ahead and go best player available in this whole draft.
We are putting Mike Renner and Emery Hunt to work here at HQ Spotlight. Guys, don't go anywhere. We got to hit a break. We're bringing you back to join Jacqueline to talk about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. They did get Joe Milton today, so at least they made some type of move early-ish. We'll tackle that next here on the show.
Back here on HQ Spotlight, the Niners coming off of a 6-11 season, and they've watched several key players leaving the organization in the offseason. But this guy, their QB1, Brock Purdy, he is still there, and he is still in line for what is seemingly a big payday. We've been hearing for months how the Niners and Purdy are motivated to get some sort of an extension done. Nothing has happened yet, so why the wait? We're still waiting to see what happens there. Let's welcome back Mike Renner and Emery Hunt here to discuss. We're looking at the Niners, talking about their draft needs to kick things off in this block, considering all of the offseason moves. Also, still having to get some sort of deal done with Brock Purdy. Renner, where do they start in terms of the draft?
I'm thinking offensive line. I think the interior of this offensive line has been an issue for a while. I think it cost them the Super Bowl when Chris Jones took over a couple years ago. And they addressed it last year with Dominic Puni, but they got the left guard and the center position that are still probably liabilities. So that's where I'm looking. But then I'm also looking defensive line. That Super Bowl defensive line that we knew and loved that was so dominant ain't walking through that door anymore. I think your average NFL fan right now would struggle to name a 49ers defensive lineman outside of Nick Bosa. It's just not a talented unit. We saw that down the stretch, and they lost some from it in Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd from last year. So, man, I'm worried about the 49ers D-line. It's going to take a while to rebuild. They got to start right now.
Yeah, that is a long list of departures that we've seen out there in San Francisco this offseason. Let's keep it in the NFC, and we're going to talk about the Cowboys. Emery, man, there's always a lot going on in terms of the headlines, right? So Zach Martin, he is retiring. Most recently, we've seen that dialogue with Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons, his agent. What deal's going to get done there? Who knows? And we know the run game has been suffering for quite some time. So, Emery, what takes priority there in the Big D?
Listen, you go back to Walt Garrison, Calvin Hill, Tony Dorsett, Herschel Walker, Emmitt Smith. You could always name the Dallas Cowboys starting tailback, right? And now you really can't, and that's a problem for Big D. So that's the number one need in the draft class, Jacqueline. It is running back. They have to find someone that can be the guy for America's position on America's team, and that's running back. But they also need guard. You brought up Zach Martin retiring. That's a big need right there in the second round, in my opinion, or in the first round, whatever decided which way they may go. And defensive line, I put defensive line because they can use help on the edge. We know they need help on the interior. They couldn't stop the run last year. I do feel like they have to address that multiple times in April, late April, talking about the defensive line.
Yeah, and a lot of our mock drafts here at CBS Sports have Ashton Genty going there and filling that void in Dallas.